says we're live. It looks like we're live. Okay, well,
We're here.
we had an error,
We had an error.
but it fixed itself. How about that?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
uh, for it's April 1st, so I
yes,
just want to reiterate, not reiterate. I just want to emphasize seriously.
we're not kidding.
We're not kidding. We're here to talk about website permissions and
Yeah,
your
user
admin.
accounts and website permissions.
It's a real
Um, I think
exciting topic.
it should be a cardinal rule, a
Yeah.
very important base thing. Do not share the admin password for anything, but in this case, your workstand website account. Do not share that admin password with other people. Each person that should have access to the website that works for your store should have their own user account with their own
Mhm.
specific permissions. And that way, they only do the things they need to do. And if something happens, if they leave your employment, then it's easy to turn that off and you don't have to worry about somebody having your admin password
Mhm.
out there. So let's look at how to first set up the user account. And then, probably more importantly, how to assign permissions to that
Yeah.
user account.
Mhm.
So in settings, in account, in user accounts, Susie, will set you up as a user if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe then you'll know that when I log into your site, if I made a change and who made that change.
And if I don't like it, I will fire you and delete your account. Usernames should not have spaces in them. So
Hmm.
no spaces, just it could be longer, but we'll just use Susie. We'll use your email since we tell everybody your email anyway.
Hmm.
I'll type it twice. Well, I'll give you 9 different names as I tried. Okay, and then we will save the change. Now, often what happens is somebody thinks, "Well, I'm done," and there's an email that will now be sent to Susie's email address that's got a login and a temporary password, and she'll log in and won't have any ability to do anything because the next step is we have to assign permissions. So there's 2 ways to do that. You can do it via group assignments, which is our recommended way, as it says right here. User groups are recommended, or by individual permissions. So let's look at the individual first. And there's 2 things to keep in mind. You can do this by exception or selection. So the default is by selection, which means anything you want Susie to have access to, you will come down here and check to enable. So if Susie's going to be doing some sales stuff and taking care of some inventory things, but not doing anything in service, so she doesn't need access to that. We want her to be able to see the list of customers, but maybe we don't want her to be able to give out store credits. I mean, I trust Susie, so we'll let her give out store credit. And see, et cetera, and so forth. You just check the things that you want to have access to, or you can do this by exception. Now, if you do it by exception, please read this big crazy warning, because what it means is by exception means they have access to everything except the things you check. And so
Hmm.
at this point, if I just click by permission by exception and don't check anything, Susie has access to everything in the store. Now, again, I trust Susie. I wouldn't mind that. Maybe you don't. You have people where you don't mind that, but just keep that in mind. And that means that they can get into where you enter your credit card information. They can get into reporting and they can get into all the stuff. So
Hmm.
if you use this, be sure to go through and exclude people from the things you don't want them to have access to. So that's individual permissions. A recommendation is group assignments, and that just makes it easier. And so basically, you set up permissions, and we'll go back and look at this, how you do this in just a second. But you set up permissions. So let's say Susie, because she is a marketer, she's going to be our marketing person. The easy thing to do is just to collect the box, and now she's assigned the marketing role, and we're done. You just come down here and save that, and now Susie has the permissions that marketing people should have, and you set that up ahead of time, and you set that up in here, account and web admin users, and this is that um, marketing group, and this is permission by selection. Same kind of thing we did when we looked at individual permissions, and I've given this group access to inventory and products, the customer list, but not issuing store credits, all the website things they might need for marketing, and all the settings that they'll want to, be able to control. But they don't need to have access to the billing account. They don't need to look at our invoices. They don't need to be able to set up user accounts themselves or
Mm.
change user admin. That wouldn't serve a purpose if you limit somebody's access, but then give them the permission to change their access. That doesn't make any sense. So that's what that group is. And then it makes it easy just to assign people to those groups rather than having to individually go in and set those individual permissions up.
Nice.
Um, let's see. And, they could have multiples. So maybe
Mm.
Susie is going to do marketing, but she's also going to help with some orders from time to time, processing orders. So we could also give her that. And then this assign tab, she would have access to both of those.
Nice.
Um, question?
Oh, I just wanted to uh, share. If you ever find, if we maybe we made an announcement, we have a new enhancement, a new feature, but you're not seeing it on your website, this is a really great place, or on your admin, this is a really great place to go look. Um,
Yeah.
that make sure that you are able to, especially I think reporting was one. That if you're missing some reporting, that you may just not have the permission. So
Yes, that's a good point. If we
mhm.
add something here or change something and you don't see that change, that's a good place to look. Maybe you don't have that permission. Now you probably will have to ask whoever the admin is in
Mhm.
the store to make that change, but that's a very good point.
Yeah.
While we're here, you don't really have to do anything with this page editor tab. So by default, it's going
Mm.
to give permission to create new pages and permission by exception and nothing check, which means you can edit all these pages if you have the permission to get in there in the first place. So as long as you have a permission set to get into the website and edit and add pages, and I'm trying to talk, and like as long as you have that, then you'll automatically be able to get to those pages.
Nice.
So that is how to set up an account, how to assign either individual permissions or user group permissions, and how to set up new user groups. The last little piece I think is almost never used these days, but it's got to do with private page permission. So some of the page types that you can create, like event pages and a few others, can be made private pages so that a user has to have a login and be able to log into that page to see anything in it. And an
Mhm.
example of that might be like a staff events page. So you might have an event page where you put things on there for the staff. And if I want Susie in this case to have access to those private pages, then I can assign that in the same way we assign the user groups. And you also, in about the same way, set those private page users up. And so this is where you can add the page. So when you create the page, you tell it it's a private page, and then you can add them to the group and set those up here. And that way people can have, the different permissions. So here's a list of who has access to that private staff events page. So simple. Again, I don't think very few people have ever used that. I don't think anybody does use it, but it's there. And if you want to
Mhm.
play with it, there's that. So back to the initial, um, the initial plea: do not share your admin login as a store owner or general manager or manager that has that. Don't share that with other folks. Set each person up their own account, give them their own permissions. And that just takes a little bit of a burden off of you to constantly have to keep up with who has access to the website, because some folks get disgruntled and we wouldn't want them to have access to
I have heard a story.
that. Yeah. And it's just good general compliance, safe security
Yeah.
compliance, so that people have their, and that way you know who's doing what on your website.
Mhm.
Good. Did I
Cool.
miss anything?
No, that was everything that I needed to hear.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time on the Daily.
We'll see ya.
Mm.